What can we do so that each child is able to use their own gifts and talents in a safe environment that's geared 100% toward creating a better world? That struck me. It's like, okay, maybe this is how education could be.
By the time they leave my classroom, they've been with me half their life. That's huge. I've learned who they are. I know what their insecurities are. I know what their strengths are. I know what makes them laugh. I know what makes them cry. So because of that, I can really reach them and make sure that they feel seen, that they have an opportunity to be who they truly are, and I work with what they bring to the classroom.
Kids, they draw to you when they know you love them and they can feel love. So first you gotta have that bond, that relationship with your children, right? And then I'm always preparing the environment. Always think about them first. How can I help them be successful? I tell them, this is your environment. I'm just there trying to guide them and prepare them so they can still naturally do everything on their own.
Whoa, you're waiting for life to happen to you. You gotta be in charge of your own life. You are in charge of your own wellness, right? It's something you're responsible for. What was that last little mini project? What did we call it? A self-care plan. Very good.
One of the things you realize about Montessori is that it really includes everything in life because it's founded in human development, obviously focusing on the fastest developmental time period, 0 to age 18. How do you not get involved in something that is so deeply rooted, not just in tradition and culture, but in science? Because Dr. Montessori, she's hardcore science. I mean, that was what it's all about, empirical, data, let's test it. Does it work? So if it's research-based and it's data-driven, kind of goes beyond a time period. It's not generational. It doesn't have to be connected to a culture or a socioeconomic status or a particular language. They build, like 0 to 3 is critical, and then you get to 3 to 5, and you're like, okay, now we're on the roll. Now they're independent. Now they enjoy learning. Now they know how to build community. And that's at the age of 4 and 5. And so in elementary and in adolescence and even beyond, we just build on that.
You will hear the phrase, follow the child, quite a bit coming from Montessorians, and that, to me, is what it's really about. Allowing the child to pick and choose how they learn and when they learn certain topics within the certain parameters given by the state. So if a child is really interested in history and doing research, you can incorporate math and language and science into all of those things. And they're allowed to follow that through all kinds of different paths. I love the fact that there are multi-age groups in the classroom. It's really special watching a young child come into the lower elementary classroom and seeing them blossom into a confident third grader who's ready to leave the classroom and go on to bigger things. So those are the things that really stand out to me as far as Montessori.
The idea in a Montessori classroom is to not only prepare them for the next grade level, but also for when they leave your classroom. And the idea is always to empower the child and to help them reach more independence. So they come in as first graders. They've just entered the second plane of development. And they're adapting to cosmic education, this new way of doing things. And they are the baby in the family. Then you've got your second graders who are the middle children. And by third grade, they're the oldest, they've been there the longest. And they have the best idea, I think, usually, of how the classroom is run and what the expectations are. And then they go from being those leaders up to upper elementary, and they're the baby again. Which is kind of a rude shock sometimes for a lot of those new fourth graders. What? I was taught banana and now I'm the baby again? What's going on? But then, you watch them over the course of 3 years and they're watching the sixth graders and they're seeing what a sixth grade leader looks like. When you have strong leaders, you see that lasting impact.
They learn to be part of a larger group because they are with the same children for 3 years and the same teacher for 3 years. So they do feel like they're in a community, but at the same time, children are allowed to be themselves, and it's encouraged to be who you are and work on what's important to you and what's meaningful to you. The children have choices. They have expectations, but they can also choose how they follow through on those expectations.
Once they over that hump of, oh, I know my teacher, oh, I know my friends, it's just natural for them to explore the environment. It would be natural for them to be free to take out work, to socialize, to learn from each other. And that's one of the things that I noticed. They're gonna naturally talk to each other. They're gonna naturally learn. And that's all that Montessori is. They're learning from each other. They're learning from what's in their prepared environment. They're gonna get it.
When the child manipulates the Montessori materials, it just triggers all these devices in the brain to remember and to learn by holding it and touching it. That we can use the same material with a 6-year-old and a 10, 11-year-old. So when a lower elementary child is having a tough time with a concept, when we go back to the materials that they learned with, it really aids in their discovery of, wait, I can do this, I can do this.
A lot of children come into lower elementary used to working by themselves or in very small groups, and once they're in the lower elementary classroom, they become much more social and interested in working on a lot of things. They are totally aware of their strengths, they know what they like to do. They have found the ability to speak up for themselves and advocate for themselves in a way that they would not have done in first grade. And so we encourage that the whole way through.
Students know what they need to accomplish, and they are part of the process all along the way. What we don't want to do is spoon feed students. And yeah, rote work, practice, it can be helpful at times, but we also want to foster a love of learning. If students want to be able to choose their own exciting works and study the areas that they want to study, there's room for that. But then they also have the responsibility to follow through with that. So there's a lot of accountability along the way. And there's a lot of creativity and group work. We're doing big work in Upper L. And there's a lot of collaboration. And because they're so social and they're learning how to work together and they're choosing work partners, there are a lot of considerations to be made.
We've turned the learning over to them. And we start that as soon as we can, so they feel empowered to be able to learn on their own, no matter what they're doing, whether they're learning how to crochet from grandma or they're learning how to plant potatoes in the backyard. They become more self-reliant. They have a sense of community and belonging. That's what makes them successful when they leave. Not because our algebra is a higher level algebra or they're reading, higher level books or anything. No, it's like the only power you really have is to learn.
In lower elementary, students are still asking the what question. They're trying to define their world. They're trying to learn vocabulary, learn basic concepts. So they're looking around and saying, what? And third, fourth grade, somewhere in that transition, they're starting to ask a different question. They're starting to ask why. They want to understand how things work, how things are put together, how systems operate together.
Everything is just connected, and they see that. And it's really cool how they can make connections between history and art and math and language and science and all the things that we do, and be able to have that remembrance of, oh yeah, we talked about that, and I was really excited about that before, so now I'm excited about this.
My goal is to teach these young people how to be good humans. My goal is to teach these young people structure in their writing. My goal is to teach these young people to have compassion for others and passion for something. I can make up many academic lapses, but what I cannot make up are social lapses, emotional lapses. I need these children to feel safe first and foremost, because if you don't feel safe, you aren't going to give a hoot about a sentence that has a subject, verb, and an object. And so my main goal is to make these young people feel safe.
Teaching kids to be good, thoughtful people above the really good at fractions or above the really good at whatever, sentence diagramming. That all that stuff is important, and that is the bones of what we do in our classroom every day. That's what the bones of school are. But all of the other pieces are the flesh, like all of the other human experiences and how we interact with each other. That at the end of the day is what kind of makes us human and what I need them to leave with.
The idea of metamorphosis. Let's focus on butterflies and focus on tadpoles. What is happening to those two things when they are going through the process of metamorphosis with hands up? Parker, they change. That's the basic idea of metamorphosis. Something changes. So let's say I start with sandstone, mountain falls on top of it, lots of heat, lots of pressure. That can turn into something else. Anyone remember what sandstone turns into when it's metamorphosed?
There are things that young people must know to be successful and productive members of society. I teach a lot of poetry, prose, story, writing structure, and I use texts that relate to children's lives so that they can see themselves as the hero of a story. If we are only reading stories where one type of person is the hero, there's a whole swath of human beings that don't ever get to see themselves as the winners. And so it's my goal as an English teacher to give these young people materials and stories where everybody gets to succeed.
We just a community and a family that love each other. We don't hold anything against anyone. You're free to be you. You're free to be yourself. How you learn. You're free to, have your opinions, to have your thoughts.
If you think about it, what do we learn the most from in real life? Our families. So if your school is like a family, then you'll learn that much more on how to be a well-adjusted adult, because you learn how to argue with your sibling, and how far is too far, right? And so you test your boundaries, and in a safe family, that's what helps you grow. Well, if Fernwood is just an extension of your own family, then that's just helping the child develop even more.
What I notice at Fernwood is that everybody tries to make it better. It's not one person trying to make it better. It's not a group trying to make it better. It's that we, as an entire Fernwood community, can see things being successful. We can see things that have room for growth and room for improvement, and that we, as an entire community, work toward it. The Fernwood community is one that people of all ages, all genders, all races, all abilities have the opportunity to thrive here.
One of the Montessori great lessons, the third great lesson, is about the study of humans. And at the end of the story, it's all about how we can care about others.
I think we're all interested in, helping these kids make this world a better place and giving them the tools to do that. And we're all on the same page. We all have different styles and different ways of doing things, but that's the ultimate goal. And I don't think we ever lose sight of that. So Fernwood is a very special place.
Recognizing that you can be the hero of your own story, recognizing that you should be the hero of your own story, regardless of who you love, regardless of what you look like, that you have a home, you have a place, and you have the capability to be a hero.